Get used to that clip, everyone. I feel like we're going to be seeing it for a long time to come. Welcome to the video, everyone. I'm a friendly tree, and today I thought I'd go through the Tekken 8 new gameplay mechanics introduction video. If you haven't already checked it out, you can find the full thing on the official Bandai Namco YouTube channel, and probably a number of other official places, and I recommend you check it out at the official location. I'm going to run down just some of this video. We're going to skip through a lot of the conversation and just talk about some of the key mechanics that we're looking at, some of the changes, and I'm just trying to start a discussion about things and hopefully help develop your understanding about what it means and what it could mean.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。
I think most people that watch my videos are familiar with Katsuhiro Harada.
そして開発のトップである
Obviously a bit of a legend in the scene.
And
Nakatsu, not as many people are familiar with,
今日はこの
but
2人でお届けします。というわけで、
hopefully you
早
should
速
get
ね、
familiar with him.
今日初めて
He's a big part of the
Tekken
Tekken
8のこの実機を使いつ
development
つ、
team,
まあ映像も満載で、
Alright, so we're going to skip through.
はい、こういうはい、あこんなんみたいなと、はい。
Gotta watch this bit again.
はい、バトルコンセプト
So here already we see the word aggressive. They really want to outline the fact that they want this game to be aggressive. And a lot of people have put this in a bit of a negative light. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more later down in the video. But it just means that they want to see more attacks, more sort of adrenaline running through people while they're playing the game. They don't want it to just be purely movement, even though movement is still a big part of the game. Don't ignore the fact that movement is still going to be a big part of the game.
今回アグレッシブって多いかと、今回とかあらゆる最初は初めて皆さんに説明するゲームシステムにもこのキーワードを覚えている。はい、というわけで、このコンセプトの
So I like this, how they've got a battle concept. So the next thing is vision, and they've provided us with a vision. So this is just a good thing to have a statement, what they're wanting to achieve with this game. So provide both players and audiences the most exhilarating experience yet within the series through a new battle system and evolved visual expressions. So what they're saying is they want the game to look better, not only for the players, but the people watching as well. They want it to just be a better experience overall. I think that's a great vision, and I mean, it's fantastic. They're saying they want the game to look better, play better, and be better to watch. And I know that's where people get frustrated thinking maybe that's just all out brawling in your face the whole time, but no. Well, hey, I just realized Harada's got that undershirt with all the like Tekken 2 character panels. That's awesome.
ビジョンと、双方に、
Did I?
に
Yeah, that's right.
先ほど言った枠とか、まあ、そして説明。
So the direction of the battle, so remember with the vision we just had then, they want to make the battles more enjoyable for a player in each attack. Now, they don't specify whether that's the player doing the attack or defending against the attack, but that doesn't matter. It's just about the flow of the battle and the game overall being more enjoyable. They want to make it easier for people to understand exciting battle moments and momentum shifts. So this kind of lines up with something that a lot of people have been saying they don't like about Tekken 7. So if you get someone who's not really into the scene to watch Tekken 7, it's kind of hard to follow who has the lead, except for looking at their life. A lot of these scrambles, it's like the person's just moving back and forth out of a range, and it makes sense to us, yes, but it's not as exciting for people less familiar. So they're getting more mechanics, such as the heat mechanics, more ways to display, hey, this person is now at an advantage. And I'm hoping that this will also align with different hit effects and animations to show us when a character is at a greater advantage or disadvantage. Enhance the character's specialty and characteristics. Alright, so this is a big one for me, and I hope it's a big one for everyone else. So they've got this as a key part of the direction of the battle. They want to diversify the characters. They want to show that characters are their individual thing. In Tekken 7, every season that got released on console, it was a matter of move bloat, character bloat, and just this feel that every character did the same thing. And it was very common to say, there's no point in using Nina anymore, you might as well use another character that has the same or better punishment, the same or better wall carry, and easier execution. So I'm really hopeful that with this goal, with this direction, they're going to make characters feel more unique. They're going to give you a real purpose to choose Nina over Paul, or Law over King. Characters will be individual again, which is what we really want.
ポイント仕掛ける側より分かりやすい意見ができる個性やというようなバトルシステムの方を紹介していきたいんですけども、今回紹介するのはこの4つですね。回復可能スタイルとなって。
Oh no, we skipped part of that. Sorry guys, I know how much you wanted to say.
まずは既存システムの
Okay, so the rage system.
昔から
I feel bad skipping all this chat. Like I said, check out the official
そう
video.
です。まずレイジ状態
So hopefully everyone is familiar with the rage system because it's been present in the Tekken franchise for quite a long time. So since Tekken 6, it's been very visually obvious that when a character gets low health, they get this red aura, their life bar starts flashing red, and they do increased damage that scales with how much health they have left. So the less health they have left, the more damage their attacks do. In Tekken 7, of course, they introduced rage arts and rage drives, and this was another mechanic. And in Tag 2, it dictated, or it was Netsu in that. You got it multiple times during the round, different depending on character relationships, different amounts, but it dictated whether you could do tag crashes as well. So you can see in the health bar here, there's a little line. So they've made it a little more evident of when rage activates, which is good. And they've kept rage out, they've kept the damage, but one thing that they talk about later in this video, probably in the next minute, is they've removed rage drives. So rage out is there. The other thing they talk about, we're going to skip forward a little bit. Let's look at this. I love how he ends in the stomp, the upward 3+4.
今回、レイジャーツは、
Jins from that
共通のコマンドになっております。
で大ダメージがいくと。
Yeah, so did you see what he said just then? Rage out is a common
必ずしもレイジアーツを出すのが正解ではなく、まあレイジ状態をね。
Okay, so I think they showed on a slide in a second. But anyway, they've just told us that rage out is a common command. So every rage out input is going to be down forward 1+2 for each character. So we don't know yet what that means for characters with down forward 1+2 inputs. So for example, Nina's Ray Hands, Steve's Sonic Fang, pretty iconic key moves to these characters. They're definitely not going to be a down forward 1+2 input anymore, but they might be mapped to something else, or it might be that we get new moves or something different that sort of covers that niche. Or maybe by specializing the characters, separating them more, they may lose those iconic moves and it might change how they play. Anyway, we'll see. That's a big deal though, because a lot of characters have down forward 1+2 animations. Actually, it's a common animation for command throws too, so that'll be interesting if a lot of characters lost their 1+2 breaks. If so, hopefully they made 1 and 2 breaks a bit harder to deal with than they are in 7.
手数で見る人はぜひ。
特殊アクションとして鉄拳7に存在
So here
して
they're
いた
saying about rage
レ
drive
イ
no
ジドラ
longer
イブ
being
は
a thing.
ヒートシステムと役割
And before we get into heat, I just want to point out one of the biggest frustrations I've seen people talk about with heat is saying it's like everyone got Claudio's rage drive. So now remember, now even Claudio doesn't have his own rage drive, but we do have different things in heat.
が被るので今回は廃止
なくなる要素と。
そうですね
Which aren't as
どんどん
good as
足しちゃうとやっぱ
Claudio's
り複雑化するので、なくなっています。
さっきねレイジアーツ、
Okay, now they're talking about the
キャラクタ
inputs.
ー共
So
通で
down forward 1+2 or
斜め
R2.
下右下と両パンチで出ます。
この辺にコマンドが出ると思いますけど。
で
Yeah, we talked about
PS5 ので発動
出るように。
Oh my god. Next.
じゃあついに今回の
This is the big one. So now we're talking about heat.
えー
This is going to be a long
そのシステムが新しくなってるんでどうぞ説明してくださ。
はいい never mind. We're talking
今
about
回、
recoverable gauge.
体力ゲージに、回復可能ゲージというものが、追加されています。で、この回復可能ゲージっていうのは、空中コンボのダメージの一部が回復可能として
So this is a big deal. This is a huge deal for the game, and I like this concept to be honest. I understand not everyone's going to like this, but I think it's clever. So part of the damage taken by blocking certain big moves or by aerial combos remains as a recoverable gauge. So this means if you launch someone and you do a juggle or an aerial combo and you do half their life, they might be able to recover 2/3 of that. I imagine it's going to differ depending on the mechanics you use in the combo, and that's how they tried to balance things in Tekken Tag 2, where as soon as you used a tag assault, everything you did after that was left as recoverable life. So, and what you could do is if you tagged a character out into another character without using a tag assault, like Nina's Reverse Ivory Cutter, for example, or Cortical Foot 1, you could tag during that and get another character in. All the damage you did there would also remove recoverable life while dealing damage without creating new recoverable life. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. What we do know is that you can recover the gauge by attacking. So if your opponent gets hit or blocks your attacks, you recover some of the gauge. Now point out with the aggressive playstyle they're talking about, if you have this recoverable gauge, it's not going to just go away unless they use certain moves or certain mechanics to deal with your recoverable gauge. You can still play defensively and block, and then when you get opportunities, do little pokes and chip away and gradually recover some of your recoverable gauge. But the other interesting thing that this can do is this can be used as a balancing mechanism where some characters may have better rush down but lower reward, and other characters may have some good high rewarding things but not as good a rush down. And now if you've got a rush down character, or even a good defensive character that can sort of evade things and poke and evade and so on and so forth, they're technically tankier. They technically have more health to play with if there's recoverable health on the field at the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance that. And I realize characters like Hwarong, as they are right now, that might seem very frustrating because 1,000 buttons per second and he recovers all that recoverable health so quickly. But that won't be without risk, and I'm sure they'll be doing some things, they'll be planning things to have some kind of trade for this. And that could be that his reward on correct reads is not as great as it is in Tekken 7, for example.
残ったりにバトルがいい重要なシステムになっています。で、鉄拳のタッグシリーズの、
Now you also saw there he said it's paired with the heat system.
鉄拳のタッグシリーズの
So that's the other thing, activating heat.
赤ゲージ
You get
に
rid
似
of
て
the
いるん
recoverable
ですけど
gauge.
も、特徴的なのは時間経過
And
に
yeah,
よ
it's
る
the
回
same, the
復
heat,
がない
the gauge does not, recoverable gauge does not
そこ
recover
が大
over
きいよ
time.
ね。
休んでどうやってするので、より攻撃的な行動をすると体力を考えて攻撃をヒットさせたり相手にガードさせることで体力が回復して、イメージで言うとなんかア
In
ド
other
レナ
words,
リン
it's
が
as if adrenaline is released from the body to
受け
recover
たダ
from
メ
the
ージが
damage. More
つくこ
adrenaline
と
in the
で
gameplay. Okay.
回復可能
だから立て直
回復
3つゲージがしないと言いましたけど、白ゲージ自体がどう残るのかってところですね。
大技をガードさせるとこんな感じで、白
So you can see here that was chip damage. That was damage dealt to a character blocking, and that is something people were quite concerned about. You can see a lot of it is still recoverable health, but
回復
look at the move that it's
す
in.
ると
It's in Paul's
こんな感じで
wall crush.
白
So the wall crush, down 1, charge 2, which is a very slow move. Everything after down 1, all the extensions at least after down 1, you can step. Down 1, 4, okay, you can't technically step it, but if you do step it, it won't trip you. And it does very little damage. You could do step block low, and then you deal with everything. And by Paul trying to do this and do that little bit of damage, with a lot of it being recoverable, you can launch him for it. So the example they've given here is not of some terrifying way to do chip damage. And they also
白い
talk about later how
回
it
復
cannot chip
表
kill.
示に残るようになってます。
で、
So
白ゲー
big
ジ自体は
And the example we're given is Wall Crush. So let's make a bit of an assumption and think that other characters' Wall Crushes might be similar, ones that have that kind of stun effect. But we don't know yet.
時間経過で消えるわけ。
時間経過では消えないんですけども、特定の攻撃など
So yeah,
で
they say an
攻
opponent
撃側が
can erase. They can erase an opponent's recoverable gauge with certain attacks, and we don't know what attacks
相
they
手
are.
の回復のゲージ
I
部分を
think it'll probably be throws or it could be by some like a heat activation or something. But we also know that heat activation causes recoverable gauge. I believe it does. Using combos, it does.
消すことも
消すと、まあこういう形でね。
Oh yeah, it can also be erased if the attacker hits a low attack. Part of the gauge will be reduced based on its damage. So I think throws and lows might be the ways to deal with it.
寄っていく感じですよね。
はい。ってる側は、止まっていると回復しないので、かけることで回復
ないと彼は回復しない。まあまさにこのコ
Yeah,
ン
you
セ
can
プ
see
ト
the
通り
health
の仕
recovery
組み
there.
になってますね。
はい。
Yes, I didn't skip it this time.
はい、
Now we're on to the heat system.
もう今回のね、核と
So
なる
this the heat system is the big one because this is, well, as Harada's saying right there, it's the core system. So it's the new mechanic that everyone's talking about, and it has a lot going on in it. So there's a lot of confusion, a lot of speculation, a lot of assumptions. But let's see what they show us here. Let's see what they tell
シ
us
ステ
here.
ムですけど、思います。まあ USA のリージョナルファイナルで、トレーラーを元に、簡単にですけど、説明らなかった
Yeah,
と
so
思
we
うの
already
で、
know a bit about it.
はい、じゃあ皆さんお待ちかねの、説明していくと、システム自体は、まあ、本当に一言で表すと、まあ、圧倒的に攻め得なボーナスタイプ
So a period of time that is overwhelmingly beneficial to an attacker, featuring the concept of being aggressive. So it's a time when you're more threatening. It's kind of like max mode in King of Fighters or Soul Charge. Is it Soul Charge in Soul Calibur? It's it's just like a buffed time. The user enters a state of enhancement and awakening for a certain period of time and can create a starting point for tactics and offensive actions.
になってます。自分で作る、まあ、簡単なヒート状態の入り方がまあ1個あります。
Okay, so now he's going to talk about the different ways you can activate it.
まあ、こうやるとヒート状態になって、
So you can
キ
see
ャ
the
ラクタ
aura
ー
around
に
him
青
and
い
you can
炎
see the
が
meter
ま
going
とった
down.
り、ヒートタイマーっていうの
The
でタイマ
今出した
ー具体的には、まあ、この R1
So
ボ
this
タン
is
に
set
設
to
定する
R1
んですけど、はい、
So I think they only tell us R1. I don't think they tell us any other input. So I think every character, the input is R1, which does make this technically a 5-button game now, which is a bit annoying for button mapping. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. We'll see. Hopefully there is another input to activate it. But I mean, that would take up another input just like Rage Art has already done. So we'll see. We'll see.
4ボタンでヒートが、いつでも発動可能になっています。が減少していって、まあ、何もしないと、
You can see here,
まあ
it says
10
the
秒
heat state
で
ends
ヒ
in
ート状
10
態が
seconds.
終了し
But
ま
he's
す。
でも
about to explain
割と
that.
長いよね、意外にね。
He's about to
基本的
explain
に10秒
that
なんですけど、まあ、実はこの
you
ヒ
can
ートタイ
stop
マー
it
の減
by
少っていう
attacking.
のは
So while you're in heat,
止めることができまして、
the more you attack,
タイマーがこう
here we
止まっ
go.
て
The
い
more
る
you
のが
attack, the longer you stay in heat for, which means it's encouraging you to press more buttons. The thing is, it's also encouraging you to get more predictable or take more risks. For example, if you're doing lots of lows during that, the opponent can still low parry you. The opponent can still low crush you. They can still challenge you. They can still do things. And I'm sure you've seen in the meta of the previous Tekken games as well. I'm sure everyone's seen that all-out offense, it always comes with some sort of risk. So there will always be risk involved.
分かると思うんですけど、したまんま、バトルを継続できるっていうような
相手を押し込んでいけるってことだよね。だから
So I mean, in that there, they're saying you can still continue this pressure. You can stay in an advantageous situation. However, you could see what they were doing. There were gaps in there where they could get counter hit launched, or they could, Paul wasn't without weakness in what they just did. Okay, so they're saying he can be acted once per round for 10 seconds. So you can only use it once per round. Remember that. Heat timer stops while an opponent is hit or down state. So, if they get hit, if they even get hit, the heat timer goes, well, it stops. If you play well, you can keep the heat state for a long time.
ここももうコンビだよ。
そうですね。
防戦一方だとより不利だ。
That makes sense with the
メリットがあ
aggression,
る
doesn't it?
はい、ではヒートの発動条件に関してですけども、
Now, the two ways we can do
こ
it.
の
So,
ヒートバー
there's
ス
the
ト
heat
と呼んで
burst,
る
which is R1,
自らの意思で
and they show here as well that you can do it
一つの
without the
ヒート状態
attack. So you can do it just
ものが各キ
raw
ャラクターに
activation.
相手にヒッ
And
ト
then
させる
heat
と
engager.
走りながらこんな感じで
Okay, so-
相手にヒットさせると走りながら
I think he says there's about 5 moves per character. I'm sure it's going to vary from character to character and depending on their move lists. but they'll have roughly 5 moves that are heat engages. So you can use this move and activate heat at the same time. The example we got just then was Paul's Death Fist, which is, I mean, in Tekken 7, it's -17. So launch punishable against much of the cast. And now we've suddenly made it so it's a plus on block move or plus on hit move. So that is advantageous. But remember, heat can only be activated once per round. So that's a one-time thing. Once per round.
近づいてプレッシャーをかけて、まあ圧
If you have the meter.
倒的に有利な展開を作った上で攻撃を仕掛けられるというような発動方法があります。ヒート発動技自体は各キャラ、一つではありません。主に、平均
Yeah, they said there's about
そう
5.
ですね。
So we saw with Nina, for example, her quarter circle forward 2 and her forward 1+2, or her while standing 1+2, were both versions of that. It looked like her forward 1+2 as well. Yeah, so we got the heat burst and the heat engager. That's how you can activate, trigger heat.
各数設定して
者というか、まあ、今回から始めてみようかなって人は
I said if you have meter before, but I should point out it looks like you start with meter. They haven't fully specified that, but it looks like you do. I mean, the build they're showing us is obviously a demonstration build. They don't have the time, you know, they're doing it just for demonstration, so they could have set it so you start with full meter without you actually getting it in the normal game, or it could be something that's even you can toggle in the game. We don't know.
この5つのこう
やっぱそこを意識して、たくさんいろんな覚えたらいいかっていうのを分かりやすくするために
Yeah, and they're using these heat engages, these 5 moves, as sort of a key move. So people in Tekken 7 have sort of had to Google, you know, what are the top 5 moves of this character, and it's something a lot of people use as a starting platform. They've decided to do that in game, so this is another sign of them trying to make the game more intuitive and easy for people to understand, to just jump in and play. So think of it as a positive thing, because it is a positive thing.
技を口調的
Doesn't mean only those 5 moves are
状
going
態に
to
貼
be
ってあった
useful,
ような
まずこれを覚
飛べるよっていう
but it gives you a starting
技
point.
しかっこよく
も
Yes,
的には
yes.
キング入ったこと
I like hearing about
King
Harada's experience with
俺
King
で
and
も
such,
な
but
って既存の
he's
プレ
just
イヤー
giving
にとって
demonstrations to help us understand that you can use these key moves and these mechanics to help learn a character to an earlier level
じゃあ
more
実
easily.
機でさっきのねヒートバーストとヒート発動は細かい
じゃあまずヒ
We've got the heat
ート
burst
タイマーが、存在していればいつでも、発
So anytime when the heat timer is present, this is what makes me wonder if we start with it or not. Because, I mean, they did say once per round, but he could just say, first off, heat burst can be activated once per round. You know, heat can only be activated once per round. You can do this.
動可能です
I don't know. It's just in the
こんな感じ
phrasing.
でを、仕掛けながらヒートを
So a
発動
slight
する
advantage
とい
on
ったような
hit
特徴
and
があ
on
りま
guard
す
over the opponent. So I think it's also important here to see the word slight. So it doesn't mean that you do this and you get a free crazy 50-50. It might mean that you're like +2. We don't know. And, you know, it'll probably differ depending on if you're on hit or on guard.
でこちらのこうするか、ガードさせても自分が有利に、多少その攻めが継続しやすいっていうので
So what did we see
多
there?
少
We
その攻め
saw
が
it looked like it was Law doing a magic 4 as well, and that was the heat engager on hit. So obviously he's going to be more than +1, +2 on hit, right? And that's just showing them doing a move of the same startup from what I can tell. So it's just showing, yes, Paul is at a frame advantage of +1 at least.
継続しやすいって言ったら、これ実は空中コンボのパーツとし
Yeah,
て
and
も
here's
利用
where it
可
gets
能ですの
interesting.
で、
So if
例
you
えば、
use the
相
heat
手を浮かして、
the heat
heat
burst, sorry, the heat burst in a combo, it causes a bound-like effect.
このヒートバーストを当てるっていうような
So that's pretty cool.
覚えやすいワンボタンで
So you can bound by using this move, and this is the only way to bound in this
は
game.
い、あとはですね、どうし
I'm not counting things like Nina's binding whip up forward 2-1, because that's not really a bound, even though it used to be a bound in older Tekkens, and it does a bound-like effect on the character in Tekken 7. We don't know what happens with those. We don't know if that's even still in the game. But this is, you could launch them, do multiple hits, and then do a bound effect.
てもヒートって隙が出ちゃうんじゃないかみたいな。
うん、
Yeah, they're talking about how you can do it without the attack to avoid
何
being
もし
whip
ないって
punished
ことを
easily.
で発動したい場合はもうできる。
コムに組み込めるということはちょっと
So, it can kind of replace how people use key charges in Tekken 7, I suppose.
7ではでき
They sometimes do it
バ
from
ウ
a
ンドのよう
distance,
な
just
やら
like
れ
a
が出る
taunt
の
kind of
で
thing.
例えば、
A bounce
こ
like
んな
hit.
感じで、はい、
Yeah.
確かに懐かしい感じがして
そうですね。
まあオリジナルの
続いて、ヒート発動の
So the
2 つ
heat
目の
engages. So after after the hit, the character runs up to the opponent and gains a significant advantage. After the hit, attack that can activate heat if that hit an opponent. I'm assuming they don't mean it actually has to hit. I assume they mean it has to make contact and it can be blocked. But I'm also assuming the significant advantage is if the move is connecting, hitting, and not if the move is
5つ程度設定されて
blocked.
いる
It's probably not
ヒー
as
ト発
much advantage if it's
こ
blocked.
ちらの特徴は、相手に詰め寄って大幅に有利な、
So you can see
詰め
there,
寄って、キャラクターが相
Death
手に
Fist
詰め寄っ
hits,
て
runs up. Law recovers.
有利な
He's staggered. He's in like a head stun, kind of like the wall crush mechanic stuff, where it shows that Paul is at a very high frame advantage there. But it doesn't look like anything's guaranteed.
フレームで攻めを仕掛けることができ
So
る
it's significantly advantaged
攻め
situation,
技
not
から出てるから
guaranteed.
そのまま結構継続しやすいです、違いますけど、
はいポイントがこのヒート発動技によっ
So yeah,
て分かりやすい
makes it easier for
まあ
people to
プ
see
レイしてる
the
人は
ship.
もちろん見てる人
So look at
まあ
this. So you can
プレ
see
イして
him,
る
he
人
does Demo Man, but you can see the health up the
は
top.
もちろん
That reset. So that was 100% blockable. It was a 50-50. But yes, it is still very good. But that's on hit. That's on hit.
見てる人もねこれが出たら間違いなく、まあ、攻めが継続する駆け引きの、まあ、
And it's on hit, and that was super unsafe.
起点になるポイント。まあ、というわけで、先ほどの説ヒートシステムの、まあ、駆け攻め、詳しく、
途中にできることは大きく3つあり
What can
ま
you
す
do during the heat? Say, yes, this is cool. You can take special actions. So characters appear to get some new moves, some new properties while they're in heat to sort of make them do more what you'd expect. Even if guarded damage can be afflicted as recoverable gauge. So there's chip damage as recoverable gauge. So remember that it's all recoverable. Also, I'll point out, as I mentioned in this video later, it cannot KO. This is another thing people have been worried about, but I want you to remember that 2D characters in Tekken 7 do chip damage with their special moves. 2D characters in Tekken 7 can KO with their super moves doing chip. And characters with a rage drive in Tekken 7 that bounces the opponent against the wall, hits them against the wall, can chip kill with that too. What we know of Tekken 8 at the moment is from what we understand, nothing can chip kill. You have to actually get the hit to KO. And characters' personalities and characteristics are enhanced. So that's where they get some unique moves. They do things that strengthen their strengths, hopefully. Like we saw Nina, one of the things she does, it looks like she does a string with gunshots. I think it might be like forward 3 1+2 or back 3 1+2. I'm hoping it's forward 3 1+2. And it looks like she gets heavy frame advantage, probably keeping her so she sticks on the opponent and can do like a sidestep 1 or a sidestep 2 or a sidestep 4-2 mix up if you wanted to go for that 50-50 aggression at the high risk.
一つは、ヒートダメージっていうようなものが設定されていて、
So chip damage
それ
type of
が
action.
先ほど説明した、強化されるっていうような説明していく。
そのヒートタイマーの横に実はこの鉄拳8みたい
We're
なね
frozen.
鎖
What's
の
going on?
8みたいなこ
Okay.
うマーカー出てるんです。これが何なのかってことをちょっと説明
Now, and this is
してもらえますか
interesting.
はい、この
So
ヒ
we're talking
ー
about
トタイマーの横にあ
the heat
るこの鎖のよう
And
な
this
アイ
this
コン
talks
は
about
ヒ
the
ート中
different
の
actions
専
you
用ア
can
クション
do
で、
during heat.
2つできることがあります。スマッシュといったような強力な技。
So we got the heat smash, which is a unique thing. It's almost like another kind of rage art, I suppose, because it doesn't look like it gives you frame
スマッシュとい
advantage.
ったような強
Paul
力な
does
技
it off a demo man, so it's like a higher damage demo man.
この
That still
ヒー
leaves
ト
a
タイ
lot
マ
of
ー中にしか
recoverable
出せない技って
そうです
ことでね。
はい。
So it's almost like it's like another flashy cinematic thing
こ
to
の
look
8
cool.
っていうこのねマーカーを消費することで出
And it does look cool.
せるエナジーを消費して出せるってことね。
So the heat smash
これが一つあります。
and
はい
the heat
で
dash.
もう一つは、ヒートダッシュっていうものがありまして、ヒート発動技を、キャンセルしてダッシュすることが可能になります。こちらも、ヒートエナジーを
So that's it.
こちら
Now
も
we see it on
とが可能
Glock. It's a little similar to the heat engager, but it's the same kind of thing. It's the heat engager move into a dash. So it's, yeah, much the same thing.
こちらも、ヒートエナジーを
But
消費
that depletes the
こっち
heat energy
ダッ
right
シュするこ
there,
とが可能になります、
assuming they've only got
こ
one
ち
heat
らも、
energy.
ヒート、キャラクターがダッシュします。
なるほど。このスマッシュはなんかこうこういうところで
そうですね、ヒートダッシュは、本来、ガードされると、キャンセルしてそのガードの
What we're seeing here is maybe the heat smash is for like high damage combo ender. The heat dash could be used either to increase wall carry, or it could be, I mean, for some characters it might be more damage than the heat smash, I don't know. Or it could be used if you're in heat and you're struggling to open the opponent up. You take a risk and use a heat engager to try and heat dash and have one last chance at some pressure, which is scary unless it's predictable and the opponent can step it. Like if the opponent's knowing, oh, a heat engager is coming and they step and you whiff and they launch you, there's still risk.
フリーフレームを、そのヒットした時に、ヒート発動技を
So if activated when a heat engager is hit, the opponent's reaction changes and a combo becomes possible. So this is where it's different to the heat
ここ
engager.
は結構
When the heat engager
特
hits,
徴だね。
はい、
it didn't
ヒー
give a
ト
combo.
状態に入って、こういう技普段はこういう叩きつきのやられが出るんですけども、ヒートダッシュを行うことでやられが変わってこう空中コンボを決めることができると、
Like you can
こ
see.
んな感じなので、かなり、重要。
じゃあまあ同じ
And we saw that in the Nina video with her quarter circle forward too. So it hit, it flung them into the sky, and then she dashed forward and did a combo from it. So that was a heat dash. So that wasn't the heat engager activating heat, that was a heat dash.
説明してもらえるかな。
はい、簡単に発動できる、ヒートバーストの方はヒートエナジーが1
And
つ
this is important.
まあ一つついてるか
はい
らね、今。
ただ、1つであってもヒートスマッシュ
So
どちらかが
if you activate heat that
技を
way,
ヒットさせないといけないというヒート発
you
動
get
技の
one
方
energy. If
は
you do the heat engager, you get 2,
ヒートエナジーを2個獲得できます。
which is pretty scary. So Paul does a death fist, and then he's right in your face, and he's got the bar, so he can do another death fist into a dash, and then still have another one. He could do another death fist into a dash. That would do chip damage to you, but that's all it would do. But you would be stuck guessing. You would be stuck taking, guessing.
あとは、ヒートダッシュを行った上でさらにヒートダッシュ
So
を
once again, there you can see
ってことは、
he's in heat.
heat
So this is a heat dash, meaning it
行
hit
った上
and
で
it gives a
さらに
combo.
さらにヒートスマッシュを
おー
当てることができる。
なるほど。
Opposed to when you
ヒ
use
ー
the
トダッシュ
engager
2回
before.
行うことが
にしてもいい。キャンセル
で、
協
So
力
that was cool. So let's look
こ
at
とも
this.
できますし、ヒートダッシュ2回行うことが
にしてもいい。キャンセルキャンセ
So
ル。
it's just using frame advantage into a
ヒ
throw
ート
break.
発動
And
は
throw breaks aren't. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be any harder in Tekken 8, but if that's their example of opening people up, it's not too scary. There are a lot of situations in earlier Tekkens where you're forced into, oh, I cannot step, I just have to break the throw, or I risk eating a hop kick. So these kind of situations are ever present, although they often have to be on hit or as some form of oki. This stuff still has to be connecting though.
技をうまく叩き込めばヒートエナジーもどう攻めてやろう攻撃の設計ができるようになります。
So, subtitle track. So, I mean, looking at this, people are going to want to try and activate with heat engages, and that makes sense, unless you've already launched the opponent. Because from what we can tell, doing a heat engager when you're not in heat, they don't get to extend the combo at all. So, heat burst mid combo is the way you could extend a combo further, and then that would allow you to do a heat dash or a heat smash. And also note there it mentioned the heat smash uses 2 energy to do, well, all energy to do. So regardless of if you've got 1 or 2, you deplete your heat completely by doing a heat smash.
まあ単体で使えば
Harada,
Good
trying to
thing
compare it
ヒ
to
ー
the
トス
rage
マッシュ
drive.
は
We
本当
don't know
に
if it's plus
鉄拳
or not.
7で
I doubt it.
になってますんで、 が痛かったり仕掛けたい場合はヒートスマッシュ、大きなリターンを得ることができる。
ともダッシュとの組み合わせで
I think they're just comparing it to the Rage Drive because it's the other mechanics. So like Rage Art and Rage Drive were the two sort of metered mechanics that you could use in Tekken 7 with most characters.
空港、
そこにプレイヤーの、個性が出ると運用していくかっていうと
攻略するだけで
I
も
think
か
this
な
was
り
a very good video. They explained things well. I quite like how they did it, and they kept it quite simple to follow while explaining a lot of pretty difficult to
土台が
explain
あり
stuff.
そう。
最後まで取っておくタイプの人だったり、もうヒートになった瞬間にヒートスマッシュを打つみたいな。
Yeah, so they're talking about how you can activate heat whenever you can. Go back a bit, sorry.
出ると思います。
Yeah, so
ね
that's it. I mean, I'm probably more likely the kind of person who would save heat till the end or try and use it to cash in when I think it's going to KO the opponent. And I'm hopeful that it's also going to have the factor of a lot of recoverable health, where if you do use it early, it may do a ton of damage and give you that upper hand, but then you don't have heat and the opponent can use their heat to kind of recover a lot of that health.
だったり、もう
もいるしね出すよってずっと見せかけ
Right, what we got next?
全キャラ共通で、付随しているこの効果みたいなところを少し
はい、そうすべての、攻撃にこの削りダ
Okay,
メ
so
ー
you can
ジ
see the chip
って
here.
いう
You can see it's
要素
all
が入って
recoverable.
いて、
Remember, it
まあ
can't
体力見て
KO
もら
an
うと分か
opponent.
るんですけど、相
That
手
is
が
a
ガードした
lot
分
of
だ
chip
け
damage.
回復可
That
能
is
ゲ
a
ージとして
lot
残
of
る
chip damage.
これ
There's no
結構
denying that.
はい、
ね
なんですごくこの
But who's just gonna stand there when that's happening? So if a Paul is just standing there jabbing you, you risk getting hit by a lot of things, but you can still step block, you can still backdash, you can keep your distance as much as possible. As soon as they activate heat, you can still, you might have to block the follow-up, but you can still backdash. If they knock you to the ground, you can probably just stay on the ground and they might get 1 or 2 hits. It's probably not the smartest thing to do, but you can sort of change the timing of your wake up and mix things up so that they're not at 100% pure advantage the whole time. They're not just able to press as many buttons as they want and deplete your health down like that.
削りを生かした、攻めが
I think it's going to be a bit of a game of cat and mouse with
削りのままで
heat, which is fun. It's adding more to the game. So while in heat state, even if an attack is blocked, it can be left as recoverable
KO
damage.
されること
And as I say here,
回復ゲージは、
you
なので
cannot
相手も
KO.
一応アグレッシブに攻め返せばさっき言ったようにボー
こんな感じですね。
ヒートシステムの、発動のとあとキャラ
Now I think they're talking about Law's Nunchuck.
バトルの目指す方向性で説明しましたけども、やっぱりヒート値を生かしたいなってパワーキャラクターで一撃必殺みたいな
Keyword's
キ
like
ーワ
one
ー
hit
ドがある
kill.
ので、
We don't want
普段
that.
ホールドすることで、ガード大幅有利が取れるような技がヒート中のみ相手のガードを
So that
破
goes
壊す
from
る
doing
ガー
guard
ドブレイ
damage
ク、
なるほ
効果
to
があっ
guard
て、
break. Once
ど
again,
より
it's
有利フレー
steppable.
ムを取りながら
はい、
圧倒できる
そうです。で逆にローは、スピードのキャラクターで手数が
Like that doesn't seem too scary to me. If that's scary, then Farkamram is already that times 10, because he's got that and he's not in heat. I know his doesn't work mid-screen quite the same, but near the wall, and he can still get like a guaranteed follow-up. It's scary. His is scary, and it's the same thing. Paul's is not as scary in my opinion.
多い、ラッシュキャラクターで、ヌンチャクの攻撃が非常に強化されるという特徴があります。
そもそもヌンチャク自体が強いのにね
強いのに、去って
So
攻撃
they're
を当
saying
て
he's got
る
this
ダウ
new
ンする
nunchuck
ような
move. Looks
リア
really
クションが出るやら
fast.
れが
I still reckon that's about 14 frame. Just based on how I think it works,
する
I
ような
reckon he's going to lose his 3+4 launch, and he's going
空
to
中
have
コンボ起
nunchucks,
動の
which when he's in heat,
やられに
sorry,
変わるっていったような特徴が
now
あるので
14 frame launch.
かなり
That's what I think.
強くなってます。でまた
I
原
could be
さん
wrong.
のプロレスだし、今回筋肉を失う
Look
の
at
で、
King's intro.
一時的にその
Like
ヒ
a
ート
boss.
中は、その走る新アクションが追加されてるんですけども、その新アクションがパワークラッシュ状態になっ
So
て、
that's cool. So he gets a
相手の
power
攻撃を
power
受け止
crush
め
mechanic.
そんなの
if
関
he's
係
in
ねえっ
heat.
て感じで突進してきて、二
In
択
other
を
words,
迫るように
yeah.
ことができる
できると。
That's like Zangief's running bear grab. It's the equivalent of Zangief's running bear grab. but it needs to be kind of enhanced. I think that's really cool. I think that's a great addition to King. Hopefully they really push on that play of him being a grappler, and that's a good example. It's a move that he can do from full screen that is a throw, that isn't just an instant shining, or a running shining wizard, running powerbomb. I think that's quite cool.
その辺は今後いろいろ情報を公開していくので、
ごとにそういうのが
性だったり、
So all characters have
入
different
力っていうような
enhancements, which is
特
cool.
徴設定や
ことができるようになるし、攻め方にもバリエーションが出るので、
What do you got next?
こうヒートを発動されてこう、
はい
ガードするすごいやられてる側の視点からすればこううまく反撃とかでき
Is there
る
a point at
ポイ
which
ン
they
ト
can
とかなんかあるの
successfully fight back?
有
So
利フレー
hopefully
ム
we've
とか
already
そういうところ
discussed
変わって
this.
ないので、
So the frame data
まあ
doesn't
一
change.
旦ガードしてやり
The
過ごし
frame data
て、
does not change. So if they were -1 out of heat, they're -1 in heat 2. The only difference are things like that guard break, or there might be some specific changes, but it looks like that's more tied into things that are going to be very visually obvious, like new animations and things like that.
自分から手を
差し込んでいかないと、
はい
様子見ばっかりしてちゃダメってことね。
様子見ばっかりすると削られてしまうので、
Now they're gonna talk
な
about
る
the
べ
power
く
crush, yeah.
手を出すか、
So
っていって
I think that they are trying to push
Oh,
for
no.
power crush to be a new
強化
mechanic
されて
here.
るというシステムとしては、
And they're
こう
mentioning
相手に
here
技を
that
食らいな
all
が
of
ら
it is
自分
left
も出す
in
ので、ダ
recoverable
メ
health.
覚悟だけど削られも相手に割
けども、鉄拳7との大きな違いは、受け止めたダメージが回復が可能ゲージとして残るので、
So Paul still, it looked like he dealt a lot of damage. Well, he received a lot of damage from that, but it's all
ただた
recoverable.
だ食らうだけじゃなくて
わけではないです
後からそこを起
He
点
hastily
に
built it.
反撃していけばその分は回復で戻るだろうか
はい
ら、、
また攻めれば戻ってくるんで割り込みやすくなる。
つまりお互いやっぱりしっかり手を出す方がやっぱり有利になってる。
We see a few
Hi.
other property changes there to Paul
そう
too,
で
and
す
a
ね。た
cool
だまあもちろん
example
そのバック
of combos and how they work. Look at that rage activation. I think that looks really
Hi.
cool. Look at the health bar.
そうですね。ただまあ
And
もち
just
ろん
on
その
lore in general, it was very evident, very obvious, very evident of what was happening. It looked nice. I liked it.
バックダッシュや横移動といった
Okay, so we're
ら
saying, yeah,
防御行動も有効なの
backdashing,
で、
sidestep,
まあ、手を
still
出し
effective.
て切り返す
So
も
you can either
いいし
attack or push
まあ、今までで様子見するもいいっていうのは、まあ、本来の鉄拳の、いい
テクニックでもいけるし、
Yeah. So take that to heart, people. They're saying these defensive options are still applicable. They're still valid. They're still in the game, and they're still going to be a big part of the game. It's just going to be there's more visually obvious advantage at times. Like I imagine the heat engages for King, for example. It might be quite similar to him doing like a back 1-2 on hit, where you can't do much about it. Like you're in a very risky situation after that, or a 2-1 on hit where he's like +7 now. That's crazy for a 10 frame, isn't it? Like that's such a common situation in Tekken 7 already. It's just now it's big and flashy when you see it. It's probably also still that same situation in the game as well. We don't know. Probably.
今回強化されたところを使って
時に、まあ、不利な情報をしのげばあとはその手を出したり、仕切り直しもできる。
Okay, I think we're up to the last part now.
はい、今回ねまたコントローラーのね、
So
してもらえますか。
コントローラーのスタイルを
this is they're talking about the two different styles. So they've got the arcade style, which is the authentic style that we're all familiar with. And as I said before, because we've got this heat activation button, we also have that a rage activation button, but we also have a separate input for that. But it means that this game is appearing to be a 5-button game, just like the tag games were. I don't know if that might change in the future. I don't know if they might give us an input for the heat activation, but we don't know at the moment. But then they've introduced the special style. The easy combo and assist features of Tekken 7 have been combined and evolved. So this is an expansion of the assist mode that they had in Tekken 7, and I think it's quite like sort of the what's it called? Those modes that you can have, the input modes you can have in like Blaze Blue and stuff, where you could do a combo by just mashing square. Not just auto combos, but you could do like different sequences of things, and it would do a chain of your normal moves. It would do combos that are possible for you to do with regular inputs. They'll never be quite optimal, but they're applicable, they're valid. But it means that you're sort of set in, you've got different paths you can go down, but you're set in kind of patterns, so that once again it'll never be quite as good as the arcade style, but it would be a good sort of launching platform and a good way for you to help identify a sequence that you could perform these moves in, especially for combos and stuff.
2つ用意しています。ドスタイルっていうのがあった、簡単コンボが、これどういうものかっていうと、
So each button has a
各ボタ
recommended
ン
move
に
for that character.
その
By
キャラ
just
クタ
pressing that
ー
attack
の
button, you can play the
お
game
すす
like
め
an
技が
action
設
game.
定されてい
So
て、
this is to make things
その攻
more
撃を
beginner friendly, also allow you to play the story mode and use every character in the game without actually having to learn them to a great degree. Like, I know there are a couple of battles in Tekken 7 that people found quite frustrating because they're like, oh, I'm stuck using a character I know nothing about, and this boss character has some weird gimmick where it guard breaks me and has armor, and it gets very frustrating. Well, at least with this it makes it a bit easier if they just want to play and enjoy the game. And that's what it should be about. That's what these kind of special styles and things to help introduce people to the game should be about. It should be allowing people to enjoy the game.
ボタンを押すだけでアクションゲームみ
With
たい
that,
な
I hope we see a lot more people stream Tekken 8 because of this, meaning they won't be as intimidated. They won't feel, oh, people are going to watch me and I'm just mashing buttons. I don't know what I'm doing. They can watch and the matches will look more exciting even if the player doesn't know what they're doing because they can use this style. It will visually look more interesting.
まあ割り当てワンボタンで割り当てられるって機能までやってだけじゃないってことだよね。
こうやって、L1 押すと、
まあこういうふうに、
これがスペシャルスタイルの得意技、空中コンボ、パワークラッシュ、
So they just talk about how you can do
ヒー
different
ト発動
ordered
技になりま
things.
す。こんな感じでヒートを発動する。
Yeah.
で、
So automatic heat engager.
R1 でヒートスマッシュが、
まあもちろんここはね
Heat smash. Yeah.
特徴的なのはあと空中コンボはこの三角ボタンを連打することで、空中コンボが
So that's
決まる。
like launch combos, launching
はい、で
combos.
これも実は1個ではなくって三角の後に四角を連打すると違う空中コンボが出る。
なるほど
So I like that. They've got it so they're clearly not optimal. That's far from optimal. But they've got it so you can launch and you can do different combos depending on the buttons you press there. So people are going to be playing this, new people are going to be playing this, and they're going to see visually appealing combos that they're performing. And then they might go, hey, well, that looks really cool. I know what the moves look like. Now I might try the traditional arcade style and see if I can do that same combo.
鉄拳7だとこうそう
ですはいはい、
こういうふうにつなげれるししかも違う種類も
コンボが
なるほどなるほ
そのボタンの組み合わせによって例えば
ど
にそのキャラクターの状態変化します、
はい
例えば自分がヒート状態の時にはこの三角ボタンを
Yeah.
連打する
So
と
what they're saying is just that
自動
the
的に
combo that you do will
ヒー
be
トダッシュを使った空中
enhancing
コ
on
ン
the
ボを
state you're in. So even the default combos they do will differ depending on the circumstances that you do them in. That's cool. So it means you're not underutilizing mechanics, or if you go into heat where things should look flashy, or if you're in rage and you can, where things should look flasher, it looks flasher. So this is all about looking cool for people, looking cool for new players and for
す
spectators.
ごいねこれね
そうです、
I
普通に
I highly doubt this will be used in tournaments. I highly doubt people would. I feel like it would handicap you too much. So it's more about a platform to introduce people to playing the game and be able to play with friends. Like I've got a lot of friends that can't play fighting games, and sometimes they know I play fighting games a lot. They're like, oh yeah, show me what you got, and they don't know a single input. They don't know how to do commands. With this, I could at least get them so they do things, and they're like, oh, that was cool. I did that. I've also had like tournaments where I've versed people and I've ended up versing people very new to the game, and when it's kind of clear they don't know what they're doing, I might sort of tell them, do you know Rage Art? Or they might start talking to me like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'd be like, oh, don't worry, we'll give it a go. And I'll say, do you know Rage Art? And they're like, what's Rage Art? And I'll just say, okay, press these buttons. And they'll do it, and they'll do the big flashy move, and their eyes light up. They're like a little kid or someone new to the game, like, wow, I did this cool looking thing. And so it's more of that, and more things that'll make people want to play the game.
ヒート発動技を使って遊んだりそれによって本当に鉄拳の醍醐味の空中コンボを入れてくれるっていうような特徴があります。
Aerial
で
combos, which is one of the most
下
exciting
段攻
features
撃
of
とか
Tekken
も
7.
はい、
まあわざわざ
攻撃も
ちゃんと入れるってことかな
そうですね、なんていうんですかね、駆け引きで相手のこうタッチガードを崩すにはまず丸ボタンの下段を決めてみましょうとか相手が手を出してくるようだったらパワークラッシュ×ボタンですね。
It's just a good
の三角ボタンを狙って遊び。
鉄拳7の時にあったみたいにシステムあったでしょ。リアルタイムにゲームの中で、
はい、できます。
なるほど。
今ここアーケードスタイルで操作しといて、
So you can toggle between the two in game.
ちょっとやっぱりまだキャラクターの技が
分かんない
とか、どれ使ったらいいんだっけって時にはこう出して。
ヒートタイマーの使い方が分かんない時はそれにして、
play traditional style, but then open this up too.
そうです。
That's good for people too. They might.
ですね。なんでイメージ的には。
I mean that's where it might actually come into tournament play because, I mean, you might launch someone and know that you don't have to do too much to KO them, and do you know the amount of time that combos drop in those situations? Now you could just hold R1 and mash triangle. So people might do that, and that kind of, I mean, I don't know. Combo drops are kind of a part of the whole game. But it sort of removes that error. I don't know, there's probably still room for error with it too, and people would stuff it up and accidentally not hold R1. I don't know. I don't see me using this personally. I think it's more going to be about introducing the game to people.
自転車のスペシャルスタイル操作で慣れてもらって、ちょっと自分でも
Yeah, I mean the way he's saying it there, it's like it's to introduce and then practice the arcade style.
切り替えなスタイルの特徴になっています。
でも中上級者ぐらいでも割とうまくキャラやるときとか、確実にやりたいと幅広く初心者から中上級者まで使える仕組みかなと思うけどね。
The accuracy, I mean, I think they're onto it there with the accuracy because if you're in a situation where you just need to do something very simple to hit and you're prone to panicking and doing the wrong inputs, as many players are, you see so many combo drops in tournaments when it's like, man, they could have just done like a jab and won. So this is something that I guess they could use, but overall I don't see it being used too much in intermediate or advanced level. I don't really see it being used in Tekken World Tour or anything. Not really. We'll see. I could be wrong.
ある程度例示上今ちょっと
So, I mean, even that's a lot of damage in that combo, but I don't think that combo was near optimal. For example, you can see they're in heat, but they still have a heat energy, meaning, because they've got one, I didn't, sorry, we'll go back and watch the combo. Going through Paul's beautiful appearance. Whoa.
No.
So it's a... Okay, so there, I mean, the first thing they demonstrated, that was not a combo. You can see the health bar reset. So that was heavy frame advantage, activating heat with two things, and then a hop kick into a new combo. That wasn't guaranteed. And then they do a heat dash into rage art. So what would have been more optimal there is, I mean, not more optimal, but when we're looking for optimal combos, we're probably going to see stuff like not heat active, someone does a hop kick, and then they do the heat, what's it called, the heat activation that bounds, then they do a string into the tailspin, whatever the tailspin move is for them, or tailspin equivalent, combo extender thing, then they might do the heat dash, a move into a heat dash into rage art, and that's probably more going to be optimal a lot of the time, because the heat engager moves are usually high damage ones, like Death Fist, so it makes sense to do that before the rage, or use them early combo if you can, but I gather you have to be in heat already to do that. Okay, good step. And when they used heat, notice that all the recoverable health went away. So that's something important to mention when they said some different moves can remove the recoverable health. So when they used rage, when they used rage art, it did that. And that makes sense because you're depleting your rage, which is a big advantage. So you're cutting your advantage to remove the recoverable health. But that in turn gives purpose to using rage art outside of KOing an opponent, which in Tekken 7 was not part of the mind game really. It kind of was, but not as much. Some characters had like mix-ups afterwards, but most of the time it would be better for you to conserve your rage and then try and use it to KO the opponent, or because of rage drives, wait and then use it to force a 50-50. So I like that. I like that decision.
例えばバーサスモードとかけど オンラインのランキングマッチ
They're talking about
やっぱ
how
りその
this,
にモードに
controls can be used in all the different systems.
はい
Doesn't require
かなりいろんなキャラ
numerals or
も楽
practice
しめる
commands
し
and arts yet.
自分はスペシャルスタイルで出てみようかなって、
大会とかもある程度、
でだから全然その
なるほど10からはここまでの確かにね
発揮しました。
Once again, I feel bad skipping through so much.
はいいろいろねこう細かいとこ含めましたけど
Oh, yeah, that was good.
実は上がりそうか
まあ最新作で
What new
本
take
当
the
に
most enjoyable ever?
開発メンバーが毎日
I think they're putting their heart and soul into this. I hope they are. It seems like it,
よろしく
and it seems like it's going to be an amazing game.
それを期待してセブンのシーンもねまだ続くので、ぜひ鉄拳セブンの方も楽しんでいただければ僕らの励みにもなると思いますので、そこも
So that's
この
that.
動画はございました
That is the whole video. That was cool. So we still don't have a release date, but we got a lot of information from the Tekken World Tour final. So this whole video plus the Nina Williams reveal trailer. We know that Tekken World Tour is continuing. We also know that Arika is going to be involved with the development, and it looks like they'll be implementing rollback netcode into Tekken 7 as well. Hopefully, that's what it seems like. I don't know when. I mean, no one knows. No one outside of Bandai Namco really knows exactly when the next announcement will be, but we do have EVO Japan coming up soon, so it's very likely that we'll get some more information at EVO Japan, maybe another character reveal or two. I was telling someone the other day, I believe that we'll probably get 2 character reveals. I don't think they could do one at a time continually like this. I think they'll start pumping out a few more at different events. I'm thinking we might get a returning character and a new character revealed. Anyway, what do you guys think? And what do you think of this video? What do you think of these new mechanics? It's a lot to take in, and there's a lot that people are wondering about, and let's discuss it below. Thanks.